the game sequel. There's something that's always appealed to me about the number 2 for some reason. I guess it's because by the time the second game comes out, they've already thought about all kinds of ways to improve upon the first game's formula. Unlike a song or a painting, a game is something that you can revisit. They can say, hey, this one was good, but we're going to make this one better, and it's still going to be pretty much the same premise. In this episode, I'll be exploring all the various game sequels that kick so much more ass than the original, and maybe you'll agree. This is the Overstimulation Station.
Game reviews and self-defacing entertainment interlacing. Just sit back and start to space out. Overstimulation. Band reviews or playing skits where I'm a chick worth laying attention, grabbing product placement with the point I'm trying to make. It's the Overstimulation Station. Overstimulation Station. Overstimulation Station. Overstimulation Station. Sequel, sequel, sequel! It seems like every game gets a sequel. As I was saying before, the game sequel is very unique in that it can correct problems and expound upon themes set up by the first game. Mega Man 2 for the original NES is said to be one of the best Mega Man games of the franchise, and I gotta somewhat agree with that statement. This game has so much nostalgia value for me, plus the Mega Man series is arguably one of the best platform shooters in the genre. Mega Man 2 expanded upon what the first game did by adding more bosses, eliminating that arbitrary point system in the first game, and broadening the worlds that Mega Man could explore. This game is just great. Then came the Mega Man X games for the Super Nintendo, and they were even better! They took something that was already great and made it better. In fact, the first video I ever did for my channel was Mega Man X2 for the Super Nintendo. It was a big improvement over the first game, in my opinion. And the second game I did was a playthrough of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which added more characters and more fluid controls. Then I did MDK 2, which was a vast improvement over the PlayStation version. Then I did Warcraft 2, which was a huge improvement over Warcraft 1, which graphically and gameplay-wise, and that's 4 reviews on the sequel, so everybody knows the square root of 4 is 2, and we had like 2 eyeballs, 2 ears, 2 hands, 2 feet, 2, 2, 2, 2! 2, 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Who the fuck are you?
You've been in my shed the last 3 days saying the word 2 to yourself over and over again. At first I thought it was raccoons, but raccoons don't eat Funyuns.
Oh, right. Yes, Funyuns. 2, yes. Hey, imagine, have you ever played Street Fighter 2?
Who remembers playing the first Street Fighter? I didn't think so. That's because the first Street Fighter sucked. You could only choose between Ken and Ryu, and to say the game had bad controls
Would be an understatement.
Hold up. I do the voiceovers. Don't care how long I've spent in sheds eating Funyuns, I'm the one who does the voiceover.
Okay, man. What about the Funyuns?
There are no more Funyuns.
Street Fighter 2 and its many iterations were such a huge improvement over the original game. It basically started the competitive fighting scene, which is still alive and vibrant to this day. With a much larger character selection screen and tighter controls, this game began the home console fighting genre. And let me just say right now, you're going to hear me bring up tighter controls a lot in this video because a game is only as good as its controls, and when those are improved, the game is instantly better.
So what other games come to mind whenever you're thinking of Super Nintendo fighting games?
Super Pit Fighter.
Finish him!
No!
Fatality.
Yes, Mortal Kombat was a groundbreaking game. Yes, the first one is pretty good, but oh my god, the second one was so much better in every way. The characters looked so much more fleshed out rather than those cheap kung fu knockoffs of the first game. The fatalities were much cooler, and the list of characters you could play as was much more diversified. Hell, Balraka is still one of the creepiest dudes in the fighting game genre. Although there have been many Mortal Kombat games released since Mortal Kombat 2, this is always the game that I come back to and find myself wanting to play out of all the other games. But that could also be because I'm an old man. Speaking of Super Nintendo games, what about Donkey Kong Country 2? Talk about an amazing sequel to an amazing franchise. The first game was an utter graphical feat on the Super Nintendo with its pseudo 3D look. Donkey Kong Country is a must-play for any gamer, but Donkey Kong Country 2 is a must-own. DK Country 2 introduced a new character, Dixie Kong, who can glide, which instantly gave the player a new way to experience every level. The game also created some of the most unique and identifiable worlds that I've ever seen in a 2D platformer. This game oozes personality. Not to mention it has one of the most beloved soundtracks on the Super Nintendo. They nailed it with this game.
What about this game?
Oh, fuck that. Is this a piece of computer paper? You were too lazy to even get the game? You knew we had this episode going on and you probably left it at your friend's house because you're lazy and you forgot? You piece of shit. Hey AJ, you want to know what game kicks more ass than an angry man amongst a herd of donkeys?
Chessmaster.
No! Fucking Mother 2! More like Motherfucker 2. But you being American and all, you probably know it as a different name. I don't know. A little game called fucking Earthbound.
Although Mother for the NES was a passable RPG at best, Mother 2 was when things really started heating up for this series. Known as one of the best role-playing games of all time, Mother 2, aka Earthbound, took a familiar formula and kicked it up about 20 notches. The art style, gameplay style, and underdog reputation of this game has made it a cult classic and a must-have for all gaming enthusiasts. Unfortunately, these things have also made the game very expensive, so don't think you'll be picking this up for cheap these days.
You skate? Bro, you skate?
Yeah, I got skills.
You remember Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2?
I don't want to do this anymore.
Lights out, Gorilla Radio. Turn that shit up. Lights out, Gorilla Radio. Turn that shit up. Lights out, Gorilla Radio. Turn that shit up. Lights out, Gorilla Radio.
Oh, don't you just love copyright infringement? This game is a certified classic. According to Metacritic, it is one of the highest rated games of all time, only falling behind Zelda Ocarina of Time. The second Tony Hawk not only added more skaters in different levels, but it improved upon every single detail. Tighter controls, new game mechanics like manuals and lip grabs, expanded levels, and more in-depth gameplay. Even recording this footage, I found it hard to pull myself away because I was just having so much fun. The first Tony Hawk was a great game, but Tony Hawk 2 is a masterpiece.
I'm having a lot of fun. Here are some other noteworthy sequels. Earthworm Jim 2.
Sorry, I know I'm doing a little video montage thing right now, but this game has one amazing soundtrack. Good God. It was composed by video game music maestro Tommy Tallarico. Go and look this soundtrack up on YouTube. You will not be disappointed.
Of course, not every sequel is so great. These are just a few I can think of off the top of my head.
As it's been complained about many a times by many different people, Castlevania 2 deviated a little too much from the style of the first game. It had a more non-linear feel, and it was confusing to a lot of people. Also, the gameplay would often be interrupted by an annoying message. Then there was Star Tropics 2. Many people complained that this game strayed too far from the first game's roots and just wasn't as fun. I personally enjoyed both games, but I suppose the first one was a little better. Then of course you have Super Mario Bros. 2. I didn't even include this game in my last video where I badmouthed Mario because honestly I don't consider this a Mario game. In short, this game was originally released in Japan under the name Doki Doki Panic, and had nothing to do with the Mario franchise at all. After Nintendo clamored to release a US sequel to their hugely successful Super Mario Bros. Title, they chose this game. They removed all the Doki Doki Panic characters, they added Mario characters, and they made some other tweaks. It's actually an interesting story that I do recommend you looking up if you're interested in Mario.
So there you have it. All the sequels that I remember playing that were way better than their predecessors. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Was there some shitty sequel that I forgot to put in there? Well, let me know in the comments below! And you know, subscribe and share and all that stuff, and have a good rest of your night.
George W. Bush hates black people.
Lights out, Gorilla Radio. Turn that shit up. Lights out, Gorilla Radio. Turn that shit up. Lights out, Gorilla Radio. Turn that shit up. Lights out, Gorilla Radio.
Oh, don't you just love copyright infringement?